So in my How Can I Help video, I talked about how going into science or politics or something like that would be dragging myself against my nature, like kind of like dragging your soul against its grain. And so I went into being a designer, a video game designer, and I was trying that, and I did 2 semesters of it, and I took a course on serious games. Serious games are those that have a purpose aside from play. Like they're meant to be fun also usually, but they also have a more serious purpose, such as education or conveying a message politically, artistically, or some other way. And one of the types is environmental, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. But then what that meant was more kind of like Sim City, where you're simulating things and trying to get everything to a nice balance. And so like that is important, but that's more for scientists, and like I think it would require doing a lot of research to make something meaningful or useful of that kind. But there are educational games too, so I could make educational games about climate change and like what you can do and etc. But it seems like these games are pretty niche, and that the people who play them are already people who care. And so that doesn't seem like a big help to me. Like teaching how you can help, like you want to help, now what? That would be useful, but I don't know that that's something video games do, and I'm not sure I have a ton of answers on that anyway. So anyway, I was like, okay, so I guess I can't make video game design tie into environmental activism in a way that I find meaningful. Can I make fun games, like not serious games? And I thought about that, and that is also dragging myself against the grain. Like I've tried having activism be like what I do when I get home from work, but it just doesn't feel like enough. And so yeah. So anyway, I'm not gonna be a video game designer, at least not full time. I might do some stuff on the side just for fun. Or maybe I'll make a couple of these environmental games. I don't know. But my current plan is to go back and finish my computer science degree, and I'm hoping that I can make apps or websites that are helpful to activists or to nonprofit organizations or other organizations, and hopefully make their jobs easier. So that's kind of the current plan, though if you have ideas on what programming, like computer programming, is useful for in regards to activism, then I'd like to know your thoughts. That would be good. So yeah, so I'm doing that. Another change is that in January I was sort of vegetarian, like I started going vegetarian. Which for me meant I was eating a lot of cheese, and cereal and popcorn and ice cream. And aside from that being not a great diet, like otherwise it was kind of easy. I finally found a mindset that was sustainable for me to be vegetarian, because it used to, like I've tried being vegetarian before or vegan, and I was like, oh man, I'm hurting animals or I'm taking life away, and I would guilt myself into it, but that's not sustainable. Like that is a negative emotion, and that's not really super empowering long term. And so I would just kind of burn out, and then I'd eat meat again and I'd feel crappy. And anyway, I don't remember why, but I was deciding that going vegetarian was respectful of animals, and so it wasn't a guilt or shame thing so much as kind of a kinship, or basically just a respect for animals and their sentience, or whatever level of it they have, because I don't know. And also, like someone was saying, you probably get told by vegans and vegetarians that like, oh, you know, that fake meat stuff, that's good for transitioning, but eventually you'll get onto like real vegetarianism or real vegan, where you're just like eating nuts and hummus, and it's like you don't need that fake stuff anymore. And she was like, nah, I eat that fake stuff all the time, like it's good, and like why make your life harder, just like eat the fake stuff. So it's like, oh right, duh, I don't know, sometimes we need to give ourselves permission for things that we've always had permission for. We just didn't allow ourselves to do that because we made up a rule or heard a rule, and it's just important to realize it was just a rule. It was silly. Anyway, but I don't think it's good for my health to stay on this weird vegetarian diet, because I'm not eating very good. And then also even when I ate meat, I had a tendency to have low iron levels. So my plan is to not be vegetarian anymore, but to instead just not have beef and to try and lower how much dairy I'm having, which is like flipped of my current diet because I'm having so much cheese and ice cream and cereal. Like that all is a lot of dairy. So that's not my main priority right now. It's just lowering how much beef I eat because beef takes the most water to like cultivate per kilogram of like the various meats and foods. And then also cows burp up a lot of methane, and methane is a very strong greenhouse gas, like stronger than carbon by a lot. And so if I eat less beef, in theory, farmers and stuff will breed fewer cows and then there will be less methane. I mean, I'm an individual that is not actually that impactful, but if we all try to shift the market that way, like I think that's more sustainable than going vegetarian. In How to Save the Planet, they had an episode on vegetarianism. I think that's where I got the fake meat isn't like, it's not the same as fake veganism. And so they had, as part of that episode, they said in like the 80s or something, 3% of Americans identified as vegetarian or vegan. And so they asked, well, what is it now? So what do you think it's now? It's still 3%, even though there's been like a push on the movement. It's still 3%. And a lot of people who go vegetarian or vegan, they stop. It's very common to stop. And so it's a hard benchmark to even work towards. So anyway, reduce how much beef you eat. If you can cut it out entirely, that would be awesome. But just try to eat less of it and that will help. And yeah, so I'm going to try that because that's easier than being vegetarian and it's going to be healthier for me.